Hey everyone, Rosa here, 30 female. Let me spill some tea about how I dodged a bullet and got out of a toxic situation. It's a little crazy, but it's a reminder to always listen to the kids because they might just save your life. Ironically enough, they're smarter than you think, so buckle up for this roller coaster. I met Kurt on Tinder last year. Now, I was kind of giving up on love, you know. I was 2 minutes away from deleting the app altogether, but he swiped right, and I thought, why not? He wasn't my type, but sometimes you gotta step out of your comfort zone, right? Well, that was a big mistake, let me tell you. We went on a few dates, and at first he was charming as heck, made me feel like I was the only girl in the world. Classic love bombing, you know, the drill. But here's the kicker. 3 months in and he's already talking about marriage. Like, hold up, buddy. We just started dating. Can we slow down a bit? He had this whole spiel about us being made for each other and he couldn't live without me. Red flags, anyone? Stupidly, at the time, I was soaking it all in, thinking I was entering my soft girl era and finally getting the love and appreciation I deserved. Thanks, daddy issues. Little did I know a storm was brewing because this was all a part of his plan. Kurt was upfront about having a son and being a widower on his Tinder profile. Points for honesty. I guess the honesty drew me in because, you know, a single dad does his best, not something you see every day. He kept talking about us being a big happy family, and I get it. He wanted a mother for his kid. At first, the love bombing seemed cute. Like I said, I was lapping it all up, but when he started pushing for marriage more and more, that's when the alarm bells started ringing. Like, why the rush, dude? Then came the manipulation tactics. Now, he was telling me I needed to get hitched ASAP because I'm pushing 30 and I was lacking a husband and a kid. I was ready to call him out on being a misogynistic jerk, but he pulled out the big guns, talking about biological clocks and whatnot. You know, a lot more women nowadays are struggling with conceiving because they're having babies later on in life. I'm just saying, if you want to be a mom, you have to consider that. I guess you make a valid point. And you can practice being a mom with my son. Think about it. He's already 16, but trust me, he can be a little bit of a stinker. What do you mean? Well, I suppose I shouldn't talk crap about my own son. Huge red flag, by the way. But I could describe him as manipulative. Manipulative? How? He's literally a kid. You don't know him like I do. He's manipulative and rebellious. I guess that's expected. He's 16 after all. You're not doing a good job selling this whole motherhood thing, hey? But don't you see? Taking care of Herbert is going to help you out a lot. Kids are always crazy and rebellious like that. So it's better if you handle it now with a kid who isn't in his terrible twos anymore. Yeah, he's a bit of a prick, but it's nowhere near as tough as dealing with a newborn. This'll be a good seg. Can you believe I actually fell for it? Kurt had this way of making it seem like I needed to experience parenting with his son Herbert before diving into the whole baby thing. He painted this picture of how tough it would be, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Despite my initial reservations, he kept pestering me until I caved. We'd only been officially together for about 6 months, and everyone around me was screaming, "Don't do it!" Friends, family, they all warned me. But call me love-struck or something, I was ready to cut off ties for this man. They were unsupportive, of course, but I just didn't care at the time. Our wedding day came and only a handful of my friends showed up. It was a bit sad, but I was convinced that marrying Kurt was the best decision ever. I also got a chance to properly get to know Herbert. He's a sweet kid, quiet, reserved, but sweet nonetheless. Our wedding day turned out pretty good, all things considered. I was quite happy about it all. Kurt and I had our honeymoon and we returned to his home where we found Herbert. But almost immediately I could tell something was off. When Kurt got home, instead of greeting and hugging his kid, he immediately started barking orders at him. Herbert, being the shy sheep he was, just complied. It just seemed like a loveless relationship, and I awkwardly tried to play it off sometimes. But when Kurt was being particularly bossy and pushy and mean, I would butt in. Big mistake. "Herb, get me a root beer." "Please." "What?" "I was just saying you could say please." "Don't tell me what to do." Whoa, take it easy. I was just saying, I've noticed you treat Herbert like he's your slave." "What did you just say to me?" I was just saying that I feel like, you could be a bit nicer to your kid is all." "Don't tell me how to parent my kid. He's not a slave, right, Herb?" "Right, Herb?" "Right. I'm not a slave." Come on, are you serious? "Say one more word. I dare you." I had to button my lip right then and there. I could now see the cracks in the relationship. He had never spoken to me like that before, and I was so shocked and low-key scared. This is how it went for about 2 months or so. I was a bit sheepish approaching Herbert because I wanted to check up on him and see how he was doing. So one day I went to Herb's room and knocked on the door. He reluctantly let me in, and I could tell he was super nervous trying to talk to me. But I was once a shy kid too, and I was determined to get to the bottom of his shyness and break him out of his shell. We had a little small talk. I was trying to get to know him better and ask him about his interests. I could tell that he appreciated the effort, and slowly but surely he started opening up. We spent the whole afternoon playing Mortal Kombat that day, and for the first time ever, I saw Herbert smiling. I could have sworn he even let out a chuckle or two, but maybe I'm reaching. I was really happy. It finally felt like I had an ally in this war zone I called home. You might have suspected it by now, but I was starting to resent Kurt and all the crap he was doing. He became the poster child for wife beaters, your typical emotionally unavailable drunk, always stumbling home and cursing at everyone and everything. A very angry man. I honestly felt a bit catfished. Not by looks, but by personality. He was such a sweet guy at first, and I knew that he could return to that if I just waited for him to get better. But yet again, that was a huge mistake. You see, folks, you can't wait for someone to do better. This was his plan all along, to lure me in and give me a false sense of security so that he could spread his abusiveness. It was sick, and I never expected myself to be in such a situation. And of course, I thought about ending things, on many occasions even, but I couldn't just leave, Things were different now. We were married, and getting a divorce, especially with a man like Kurt, can be very ugly. Plus, I couldn't bear the thought of leaving Herb behind to deal with all that drama. I felt really stuck. One day I mustered the courage to talk to Herb about some things that were a bit more serious. I was hoping that I could get some incriminating evidence because I couldn't really sue the man for yelling at me and being a bit verbally abusive. I could, but do you really think the justice system would tend to a case like that? So I put on my big girl panties and got to work trying to get Herb to open up to me. "Hey, Herb." "Oh, hey, Rosa. How are you?" "I'm good, thanks. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay with you." Sure. What about?" "I just wanted to talk about your father." "Oh, I don't want to talk about him." "Why not?" "Well, he's just... Suddenly we heard Kurt yelling from behind us, asking us what we were doing and what we were talking about. We both quickly told him it was nothing, and Herb ran to his room, leaving me to deal with Kurt. Thanks, buddy. Kurt was fuming, getting really close and trying to intimidate me. I was a bit scared, but I was also shocked. Like, who do you think you're stepping up to? It was a bit challenging and bold, I'll admit. I didn't know where that strength came from, but I guess you could say I was just tired of the BS. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "I'm not doing anything." You think you can come here and turn my son against me, huh? I don't know. Do I need to? Excuse me? I'm just saying, with the way that you treat this kid, I wouldn't be surprised if he's already contacted the authorities. Immediately, when I mentioned the cops, Kurt kind of just turned pale and shriveled up a bit. He didn't look so big and scary now. If anything, he was the one who was looking scared. He was backing off, and I knew I hit a sore spot. I didn't know why the cops were such a sore subject for him, but clearly it was. I knew I had a new weapon in my arsenal, and I had to dig a little deeper to find out why Kurt was so triggered by this. Kurt kinda left me alone for a bit after that, still feeling a bit sheepish, I guess. But slowly but surely, as the days went by, he was back to his normal self, being loud, annoying, and mean. About 3 months into being married, Herb actually surprised me because he approached me. Normally, I would be the one asking if we could talk or hang out, but now he was initiating it first. That was great. I was getting through that shell, and I was determined to keep pushing till I found gold, or in this case, dirt. Dirt on his greasy little father. Hey, Rosa, can I talk to you? Sure, buddy, what's up? Well, you know how you asked me about my dad some time ago? I think I might be ready to open up. Oh, really? That's great. Tell me everything. Yeah, Herb, tell us everything. It was like he was Batman or something. Why was he always there, and why was he always in the middle of a breakthrough? We had been had, and Herb looked like he was crapping bricks. He was now stuttering, and I felt like crap because I didn't want to get Herb in trouble, especially now that he was getting ready to open up to me. Kurt started yelling and cursing at Herb, and I could physically see Herb shutting down again. Oh no, all of my hard work of getting him to open up was fading away right before my eyes. Kurt was a real piece of work, I tell you, making his kid feel so small and inferior like that. I had to step in, so I started yelling back at Kurt, telling him to leave Herb alone. Kurt and Herb were surprised by this. I guess they weren't used to Kurt being challenged, and this gave Herb a chance to leave and Kurt to direct his anger at me. What the hell do you think you're doing? I'm talking to my stepson. You think you're so slick, huh? You think you can just waltz in here and poison my son? What game are you playing at? I could ask you the same thing, buddy. Watch who you're talking to. You watch who you're talking to. You can't speak to me that way. Or what? Or I'll call the cops. Yet again, Kurt was cowering at the mention of the police. Very interesting. I was convinced at this point that he had a bad run-in with the law at some point in his life. He'd obviously never opened up to me about that, which is why Herb was the key to getting to the bottom of this. Kurt stomped away, cursing under his breath to hide his embarrassment. And I knew that under all of that aggression and anger, he was just a scared, insecure little boy. Still, it didn't mean that he could walk around and bully everyone he came across. I had to strike while the iron was hot, and I had to get Herb to open up to me because I was convinced that Kurt was a really, really bad guy. Another month had gone by, and during that time I wasn't pressuring Herb into anything. I genuinely wanted to hang out with him and continue to get to know him better, and he was becoming quite a smiley and happy person because of this. Of course, Kurt wasn't having any of it. He just thrived off of being miserable, I guess, and it was so annoying, like, leave the kid alone. One day I had had enough, so I decided to crush some sleeping pills in his whiskey, and I told Herb that he and I would go out for some boba tea. Kurt was none the wiser, thank God, and he slept the afternoon away like a dead person. Herb also didn't suspect anything. I mean, I couldn't tell the kid that I'd drugged his dad. He'd been through enough already. I'm sure he was thinking that his dad was just having his afternoon siestas, but little did he know we had all the time in the world to get to the bottom of this toxic cesspool we called home. We arrived at the cute little cafe in the mall that sells the best boba, and I was convinced that Herb would open up to me. here, without any pressure from his father. I wanted to start by talking about his mom, which I know could be a sore topic, but I was hoping that a little heart-to-heart would allow him to trust me and realize that I'm one of the good adults, not one of the adults who love bullying kids like his father. So, Herb, tell me about your mom. My mom? Yes. I'm sure she was such a lovely woman. I would love to get to know a bit about her if you're comfortable with that. Oh, sure. It's been a while since I've talked about her. Dad doesn't like it when I talk about her. Really? Because he told me that he misses her very much. Really? Wow, that's strange. Why is that strange? Because he hasn't spoken about her in years. I mean, just ever since Mom died, he's been really, really bad. He was always like this, but it got worse after she died. He's always been like this? Yeah, I don't remember much because I was like 9 or 10, but he didn't really like my mom. Hey. What would he do? Honestly, she was kind of like you. She was always challenging him and fighting back, and then the night when she died, oh God. It's okay if you don't want to talk about it, sweetie. I can see you choking up. No, I need to get this out. It's been so long, and I'm tired of carrying this weight on my shoulders. There's something I should tell you. What's going on? The night my mom died, they got into a huge fight. She had sent me to my room because she didn't want me to see what was happening. I tried to go to sleep, and I guess eventually I did, because when I woke up in the morning, my dad told me that she had died. What? How did it happen? He never really said. He just said he went to sleep and he woke up and found her dead. Wow, that's really suspicious. I thought so too, but every time I tried to bring it up, he would yell at me. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. You didn't deserve that. I learned that I needed to just keep my head low because no matter what I did, he was always yelling at me. We need to get to the bottom of this, Herb. I can only help you if you help me help you. I can't, okay? I can't do it. You should run while you still can because this family has a whole closet full of skeletons, okay? What skeletons? I can help you, I promise. I'm not going to leave your side. He paused after I said that. It looked like he was trying to hold back tears. Eventually, after a beat of silence, he said this. Well, I guess here goes nothing. He very reluctantly started telling me something very serious. He pulled out his phone and showed me a scanned copy of a police report that was filed by his late mother, Kate. It was detailing a domestic violence dispute that they had, and once I saw it, my jaw dropped. Herb was now getting scared, thinking that he made a mistake showing me this information, but I told him he didn't need to worry and that he could keep going. I found this last year. I was messing around in my mom's old files just to feel her presence, I guess, and I saw it, and I scanned it, and it's been saved in my phone ever since. I saw the picture on his phone, and I was gobsmacked. It was a police report that Herbert's mom had filed against Kurt, detailing some horrific domestic abuse claims. She had also attached some pictures to the report, and I gotta say, they were pretty hard to look at. Additionally, it was noted in her file that she had stated if given the chance, he would possibly kill her. I was so shocked. I asked him what had happened and what he knew about the case. He said that that's what he's trying to figure out. He didn't know anything else about the case other than the files he found, and he's been going crazy trying to figure out why it wasn't filed or why it wasn't taken seriously. This kind of thing happens all the time, though. People see women suffering and they do nothing about it. Even the people who are supposed to help us don't help us at all. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm so sorry. It all just seems hopeless. My whole life I've been beaten down by him. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like anything will change. And if I say something, he might do something to me. I'll make sure that doesn't happen. No, Rosa. You've been so nice to me. I thank you. But if you want my advice, you should run as fast as you can, like I said. This is my family mess, and I guess I'll just have to deal with it. I wouldn't take no for an answer. I hugged Herbert and told him that everything was going to be okay and that we'd get through it together. I assured him that the moment we got home we were packing up some things and going to stay at my friend Martin's place. Herbert was, of course, trying to resist it, saying that this was all a big mistake, but I assured him that he did the right thing by telling me about the case file his mom made. When we got home, we saw that Kurt was still passed out, so we hurriedly got some stuff and went our merry way to my friend Martin's to get away from Kurt's crazy ass. Herbert and I went to the police station shortly after we got a bit settled at my friend's place. I told them everything Herbert had told me, showed them the proof, and requested a psychologist to check up on Herbert because he had been through a lot. I was so relieved to hear the police saying that they would look into the case. They were even wondering why it wasn't taken seriously in the first place, and they wanted to look into the officer in charge of the case and take some action. I made sure to keep communicating with them to see if this could stand as enough evidence as grounds for divorce, obviously, but also to get custody of Herbert since he was currently living with me. Fast forward a couple of days and Kurt was arrested in his home. I'm sure it was super embarrassing. After Herb and I left and Kurt finally woke up, he went ballistic, blowing up our phones and asking us where we'd been. I told Herb to ignore him no matter what until the police got back to us with news of his arrest, because he was super pissed. Who knows how he could have reacted. When Kurt got arrested, he had used me as his one phone call, and he started yelling and cursing at me. I just stood there, waiting for him to finish. "What the hell is wrong with you? I didn't even do anything." "Yes, you did. You abused your wife horrifically, and you're probably responsible for her death." "You sound like a crazy person, Rosa. I knew I never should have trusted you." "Oh, please, you're not fooling me with that bullcrap." "This is going to ruin me, Rosa. I'll never recover from this." "Good. I hope you never do. Your wife's death was suspicious, and you don't seem to want to help with filling in the blanks with her mysterious death. So, seems like you'll be spending a lot of time there until you feel like fessing up. You're a monster, and I hope you rot there for the rest of your life. You didn't deserve her, and you don't deserve Herb. You'll pay for this." "Actually, it's you who's going to be paying. Me, alimony, when I officially divorce your abusive behind." I cut the call as he was ranting and yelling, and I looked over at Herb, who heard the whole thing, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I saw Herb let out a big sigh, and his shoulders slumped in relief. I knew that we were well on our way to heal.